And hello to everyone who has joined us from all over, it looks like, even outside of North America, which is awesome. My name is Brad Kettelars. I manage the solution engineering team here at D2L. And here, I'm just going to get my chat and everything set up. And can I get a couple of reactions, thumbs up that you're seeing my screen? You should be seeing a nice big PowerPoint. Fantastic. All right. And now that you've found the reaction buttons, can I get an applause if you are a D2L Brightspace school? All right. And then maybe a different emoji if you are not a Brightspace D2L school. All right. I love having folks that are and are not. It's great having a mix. Fantastic. All right, folks. So we are going to cover a lot of turf today. I did want to mention right out of the gate, I've done this session probably about 5 or 6 times now at OLC. And I just want to warn you, this is not a training session. This is a session to talk about some of the opportunities we have within our platform. If you want to dive deeper into any of the items I'm talking about in today's session, we definitely have YouTube tutorials. We have documentation that can easily be found online, and you can always talk to your LMS administrator at your institution as well. Okay, so I am going to be flying through a whole bunch of stuff, but ultimately I'm hoping you take away a few ideas today that can help you improve your efficiency and also help you improve those student outcomes with Brightspace. If you are not a Brightspace user, maybe you can take some of these tips and tricks away, or you can tap your LMS administrator on the shoulder and let them know, we're available for a chat. All right, little plug for D2L. Okay, so let's jump right into today's session here. So I've spent the last 16, 17 years in higher ed. Majority of my positions have been really helping, whether it be faculty, instructional designers, institutions, make the most of technology. I'm really trying to help you embrace the platform so that you can make better use of it and, again, make your lives a little more efficient. Okay. So for those of you who maybe are using our platform but don't know a lot about the company, really quickly, we are probably the second fastest growing LMS in the market right now. I believe that's both North America and worldwide. So we are growing like crazy. We're available in 14 plus languages, 15 million users, over 1,000 employees worldwide. 1,500 clients, and a very, very impressive 4.9 uptime right now. It says 99.9, but I can actually tell you verbally we're hitting 4.9s right now, which is amazing. Okay, so the goal at D2L, and this is something that we really pride ourselves in. You may have heard that our tagline is actually transform the way the world learns, and that's one of our goals. But really, every design decision we make, everything we add to the platform, all of the feedback we receive and internalize, it really all comes down to, is this going to help us reach every learner? And that might be reach every learner on different devices. It might be reach every learner in different locations. It might be reach every learner who might have accessibility or accommodation needs. So we really take that to heart. And a lot of what I'm going to show you today will really highlight or demonstrate how we focus on individualized learning paths, really trying to improve student retention, but at the same time, bring down that workload for the faculty member. Okay. So how can we possibly do that? How can we make you more efficient while also helping you with student retention? Well, we do that through what we call smart rules and smart tools. Okay. So I don't have a ton of slides today, by the way. I'm going to just walk through these 7 points, and then we're actually going to jump into the platform. Okay. If you have any questions, by the way, if you just want to drop something in chat and maybe call out for Sophia, and then she can jump in and interrupt me, I'm going to try and focus on the presentation more than the chat. Okay. So of these 7 items, and for all of the Brightspace users on the call today, I'm hoping you recognize some of these 7 items, but I also hope that I can offer you some new ideas, some new use cases, new ways to use these tools to make your lives a little bit more efficient and really reach those learners. So what we're going to talk about today and what I'm going to demonstrate live in the platform, number one is creating personalized messaging at scale. Brightspace has something very unique to us, and it's called a replace string. So whether we're sending an announcement or an email, or we're creating instructions on an assignment, you can actually have that personalized to the learner. So I'm a learner, I log in and I see that I have an email from my instructor and it just says, hey, Brad, whatever the message is, right? Very few platforms can help you do that at scale. So I can literally send an email to my entire class and have it personalized to that student. And it's through what we call replace strings. And I'll show you a whole list of replace strings that we have in the platform today. Another option that we're going to highlight today and talk about is the ability to automate and really use learning outcomes at a granular level. And this allows you to track learning outcomes, track progress, and it also allows you to release things. So you can release awards, you can release the next module, you can release a quiz or an assignment that you have gated behind a learning outcome if you so choose. So the learning outcome tool, very granular, very cool capabilities, and we're going to jump in and take a look at that. But as I said, that really leads us to bullet 3, those powerful release conditions. Unlike any other LMS in the market, using release conditions, you can really create a personalized learning path. For example, let's say there's a topic in our course that we teach and we know students really struggle with this concept. I can proactively create a module of content and then release that module of content with additional helpful materials, maybe additional videos, maybe a practice quiz. I can release that to only the students who have maybe not performed very well on a quiz, or to only the students who maybe didn't perform very well on a specific rubric. So we can literally create these unique and dynamic learning experiences for students based on how well they're progressing, or maybe areas that they're struggling with. Okay. Now, once we've released those, we're going to talk about bullet number 4 here. Once we've released additional content, we want to communicate with the student that we've done something, right? This is how we've helped the student, or this is what I've done to help you. I've released some content. I've released a couple of videos for you. We can do that through our awesome tool called Intelligent Agents. If you are a Brightspace user and you have not used or seen Intelligent Agents yet, I hope this blows your mind today. Intelligent Agents are super powerful, probably my favorite part of the platform, quite frankly. These are automated emails that will go out to the student based on whatever triggers or release conditions you set. So, hey, I see you scored less than 65 on the quiz. I release some additional content to you. Or, hey, great job on the quiz. Here's a funny cat gif or whatever you want to send, right? So you can have a lot of fun with these intelligent agents, but it's also a great way to make sure that we're poking the student when necessary. Hey, I see you haven't logged in 5 days or 7 days, etc. So there's so many really cool elements and use cases. We'll dive into those. Bullet number 5, quick grading and in-context feedback. The number one product idea exchange item we had 2 years ago was help make grading easier, and we've listened. We've created a product called Quick Eval, which allows our faculty to easily log into Brightspace, click on Quick Eval, and see every single activity across all of their courses in one place. You can then use filters if you so choose, and you can pick a specific class or a specific date or time range, and you can jump in and start grading those papers or those quizzes or those discussions. Just an amazing use case for streamlining that experience, while also enabling you to provide in-context feedback. And what I mean by that is there's nothing better than reviewing your document that you receive back from your instructor and having a Post-it note right in an area, calling out a specific element that you wish was fixed or that was fantastic. Okay, so I'm seeing some love for Quick Eval, loving that feedback. Keep it up in chat. Moving on to number 6, rich detailed information sharing through audio and video feedback. Now, I say feedback here, and maybe I should take that out, because really what we're priding ourselves on at D2L is allowing our rich HTML editor to be available everywhere in the platform. So what that means is whether it's a discussion tool or whether it's feedback on an assignment or whether you are adding a little more detail to your instructions for an assignment or a quiz, you can use audio and video files and formats to now add a lot more context, add a lot more information. My favorite use case obviously is grading. When I'm grading student work, dropping in a video, and it allows them to really understand where you were coming from. Sometimes when we read text, it's really hard to interpret. Did I do a good job? Was it just a couple of elements? Did I not do well? Adding audio and video is a great way to improve that experience, especially from the student side, but it makes things a little bit easier for you. And then finally, data. I'm going to jump into our data dashboards, and I really want to talk about how, when I was teaching, how I used our class progress tool, but how we can really take advantage of this tool to understand where our students are at, and then reach out to them and make sure we get them back on track should they be falling behind. Okay. So hopefully you guys like this list. As I said, I hope there's a couple of things that are new. You'll probably be comfortable with some of it, but let's jump right into this platform and take a look. Now, I just want to confirm you're still seeing my screen. Are you guys all seeing the welcome to Brightspace? Can you give me a thumbs up if you're seeing it?
We can see it.
Fantastic. All right. So we are going to run through all of those elements I just talked about.
Brad, can I interrupt you for a few questions before you get into your demo?
Let's do it.
Cool. Okay, so hopefully some pretty simple ones, but also maybe not. First one is from Kristen Miller. Can intelligent agents utilize the replace strings?
Yeah, absolutely. So the and I'll show you a full list of the replace strings in the intelligent agent tool.
Awesome. Clea Mahoney asks, is the current documentation article outdated? I can share that with you later if that seems like it's something you would like to check. And that would be for the replace strings specifically. And then Kristen Miller also says she loves Quick Eval, but sometimes the late assignments or submitted late assignments are not always showing up. I mentioned in the chat, Kristen, that you might want to reach out to your local D2L representative for your campus, because that could be a localized issue prior to reaching out to D2L. But Brad, do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would reach out and make sure that that's not a setting in the back end. But usually for late assignments, we don't see any major issues and or any issues at all for that matter. And there might just be like a refresh delay, but it shouldn't be anything, more than a few minutes.
Okay, cool. And then this question is actually my own. So this is the rich text editor available in the module and discussion descriptions? We would really love to apply our cascading style sheet to those text sections, but haven't been able to in the past.
Oh, that's such a good question. Okay, so yes, the rich HTML editor is available in those module descriptions. However, caveat, it does not include the template capability yet. Now, cool. If you have the template, you can certainly go in and you can drop in the code. There's nothing preventing you from doing that, but we do not have that template drop down yet. I wish we did. That's definitely a pie item, product ID exchange for those that haven't used it before, but that has not got put into production yet.
Wonderful. Those are all the questions for now.
Fantastic. All right, folks. So welcome to Brightspace. This will look very familiar, I hope, to many of you. Of course, all of your institutions are going to be branded and have a slightly different configuration. But right out of the gate, you can see what I mean by that personalized experience. So here, right on the home page, you're seeing I've got this really cool banner widget welcoming me, by name. You can see my announcement as well as welcoming me by name. And then even when I jump into a course, for example, this replace string is going to be here for me. So what is a replace string? Well, it's as simple as, I'm just going to edit this assignment to show you what this looks like. It's as simple as typing curly bracket, first name, curly bracket. That is the formal name for that, by the way, curly bracket. Okay, I've coined that. So curly bracket, first name, curly bracket, and that is going to take care of pulling in the user's first name. Now, very, very cool element there. One great use case for this is I had mentioned you can email your entire class and use the replace string. So one really powerful element in Brightspace is the ability to come into your class list, see all of your students, select individuals or a few of them, or you can select your entire class. You can hit email. And now this is going to blind copy all the students, so you don't have to worry about any privacy issues. It's also going to put the label in for your class. And now I can just use that replace string. And so now I'm going to send out, wow, I should type a little bit better than that. And that is now going to pull the first name for every student when they receive the email. Okay. So just an awesome way to streamline personalizing communication without the within the platform, and just an awesome, powerful element for personalizing the user experience. One thing we've noticed as everyone's been forced to move online is there's a little less FaceTime. It's not quite as personal. So this is a really cool element you can use to keep that personal feel. Okay. Now, for those in chat who are looking for a full list of replace strings, if you go into the Intelligent Agent tool while we're on this topic, we will be coming back here. But in the replace string tool itself, you can actually see a full list of all of the replace strings. So what replace strings can I use? And these are all the replace strings that we have in the platform. So you can set up very cool messages that are going to go out that can include the organization name, the organization code, meaning like your course code. It can have their first name, last name, their login path, the last time they logged in. So if you're sending one of those intelligent agents, hey, I see you haven't logged in since, and you can actually include that date. Very, very powerful agent to use there. Okay. So again, go into
Hey, Brad,
intelligent
quick
agents.
question.
Yeah,
How did
fire
you
away.
open that?
So
Where
I
was
just
that?
went to
First
my
tools?
intelligent agent tool. Now,
Right.
if you don't have that in your drop down, folks, go to all course tools, and assuming your institution has made these available in the communication area, you should see intelligent agents. Okay. All right, now we've got a lot of turf to cover, folks. So hopefully you caught that one. But again, great documentation online for intelligent agents. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about learning outcomes. This is a real specialty of D2L and Brightspace. We are very well known in the competency-based education realm within higher ed. A lot of competency-based education institutions utilizing our platform. And the reason why is that we can set up very complex or very simple competency structures. So we can set up competencies at the org level and share those down to a product or a program or department level, share those down to the course level, where we can create learning outcomes that attach to our activities. So one example I wanted to show here is I'll just jump into my quiz. And in my quiz, I can go to my objectives tab, and you'll notice that I have two learning outcomes attached to this quiz. I have the poetry terminology and I have the analyze and compare learning outcome attached here. Now, if I wanted to add an additional learning outcome, it's as simple as saying associate a learning outcome. And you'll notice that I can access not only learning outcomes I have created, but I can access competencies and learning outcomes that have been shared down throughout my entire institution. So here is just one example of where we have created institution level, rolled them down to program or department level. And then here's the learning outcomes that I actually want to use at the course level. That being said, if your institution is not doing this, you can very easily go in and create your own competencies and learning outcomes in your class and still take advantage of all of these capabilities. Now, how does this differ from other platforms? Well, not only can we add all of the quiz questions to a learning outcome, but we can actually associate specific quiz questions. So if you think about the power here, you can actually set up a pre and post-test scenario where they take the pre-test, they're successful in completing the poetry terminology quiz or learning outcome, but they're not successful in completing the analyze and compare. So now we can use bullet number 3, where we're going to go in a moment. We can use those powerful release conditions to release a module of content and activities for just those learning outcomes. Okay. So we can really get granular at how we set this up. As simple as clicking on associate questions. And then here we go. we can select, in this case, we only have 3 questions in our quiz, pretty simple, but I could literally choose which one of these or all of these that I want to attach to this specific learning objective, okay? All right, folks. So I had mentioned something really powerful there, and that was those release conditions. So really quickly here, what we're going to do, actually, let's do Unit 4 fiction. So we're going to create a little module here, and we are going to go out to our file folder here. We're just going to drag in some content. Just going to bring that in really quickly. And so one of my favorite use cases for release conditions is being able to create these unique and individualized learning experiences for our students, right? So I'm actually going to create an additional materials module for my students. And I'm going to go back out to that file folder, and I'm going to grab some helpful documentation for those students that might struggle with this fiction concept. Now, you'll notice in this submodule, I can still create a practice quiz. I can create all that stuff, right? Drop in additional multimedia. Anything that I help is going to help these students. But not all of my students need this additional content. So I'm going to simply click on this add dates and restrictions, and I'm going to add a release condition. Now, this is where we really separate in the market. Not only do we have like score on a quiz or did they look at a piece of content? We have everything from submission or non-submission to assignment folders, even checklist items. One of my favorite use cases, you can literally create a checklist and then the students can decide what direction they want to go. Do I want to do a group project or do I want to do an individual essay? And they can select, and that will release the module of content, right? We can link this to competency and learning outcome achievement or lack thereof. So they didn't achieve the competency like we had expected. Let's release that module out to them. So in this case, I'm just going to very simply choose score on a quiz here. And we're going to select the fiction quiz that we created previously. And I'm going to say any student who scores less than or equal to, so here's my less than or equal to, 65 is now going to receive this additional helpful content. Okay. So many awesome use cases for those release conditions. Again, I could probably talk about these all day, but that is the power of at scale being able to set up unique and individualized learning experiences, whether it be a checklist, whether it be student choice, whether it be gating the learning experience. So they must do all of Unit 1 before they can move to Unit 2. You have all of those capabilities through our release condition set. Now, once we've done that, we want to communicate with the student. Like I said at the top, we want to communicate with the students and let them know that we've released content, A, and B, why we've released that additional content. So that's where those awesome intelligent agents are going to come in, where we're going to create an example of a low score on a quiz intelligent agent, for example. And we're going to release that intelligent agent to go out. Again, it's an automated email. And we're very simply going to say anyone who scores less than 65 on the fiction quiz, for example. So I can actually create and attach another one. So I can say score on a quiz. I'm going to select that fiction quiz. And I'm going to say less than or equal to 65. Okay. So now we have multiple conditions, and we can say all conditions must be met or any condition. So now anytime a student doesn't perform well on either the poetry or fiction quiz, they are going to receive this nice email, and you can see all of our replace strings kicking in. Okay. Now, this is awesome. Not only can you use this for, hey, you're struggling on the quiz, I released some content. You can use this for great job on a quiz, like I said at the beginning. You can do this for academic risk. If you want to send this to an academic advisor as opposed to sending it to the student, you can absolutely set that up. So maybe it's not one quiz, but maybe you want to marry a bunch of conditions together. And at the beginning of the semester, if they didn't do well here, here, and here, let's trigger something off to our academic risk team so that we can try and save this student. We can get out in front of it. Okay. And in that case, instead of initiating user, you're using initiating auditor. That's going to go to their advisor. Okay. So again, guys, so many really cool and powerful use cases here. Not logged in, performing well, not performing well, you name it, sky's the limit, okay? All right, so I see we are getting close on time. So let's jump over and talk about that grading experience. So we are going to jump to the highest level of Brightspace. And if your institution has not turned on Quick Eval, please talk to your LMS administrator. Quick Eval can sit right at the home level, and all you have to do is click on Quick Eval, and you will now see every single activity across all of the courses you're teaching, and you'll see it all in one place. Now, again, you're probably not going to grade a discussion and then a paper and then a quiz, right? So that's where our awesome filters come in. We can click on either date and we can focus on older than 7 days, etc. We can click on a specific course that we want to focus on. And then we can even add a secondary filter and we can go and find a specific activity that we want to grade. So in this case, I've got 4 students left that I want to grade. And this is where that in-context feedback comes in. So we're going to open up the assignment and we're going to take advantage of our annotation tools. We can go full screen here, of course, to make your lives a little bit easier. You can also change the size here of the screen and how much you're focusing on the activity versus the grading area. And as I scroll down here, you'll see I've got this awesome assignment submitted from the student. And I can now add, I can mark up the document as I see fit. I can choose pen colors, etc. But if you haven't used this feature yet, it's probably one of the most powerful. You've got this little Post-it note capability where you can actually choose from all of these different symbols. For example, maybe I want to choose a little star here and I want to set it to a blue star. And I'm going to drop that here and I'm going to say, this is great. Now, you'll probably provide a little more context, but we don't want to take up a whole bunch of room on the student's paper, right? So as soon as we click off, that star now minimizes down. All the student has to do is just hover over and they can see your message. Now, if I don't like where I put that, I can very simply just grab it, drag it around, and away we go. So here's the star. Student now gets a lot of feedback, a lot of detailed feedback, but in context, they know exactly what you were mentioning there, okay? Now, of course, we've mentioned video a couple times already today, but we wanted to make it very easy for you to add video and audio to the feedback for the overall assignment for the student. So very simple, you can click on record video or record audio, and away you go. You can add really rich, robust feedback for the student, and you can even call out some of the comments or some of the post-its, for example, that you made through the document. All right, so now let's talk about data. This is, again, one of the most popular PI items, but this is going back about 5 or 6 years ago now. At the course level, faculty were asking us, please help us make sense of what's going on in our class. We've got a number of students. It's hard to tell, is everyone on track? Is everyone doing the work they're supposed to do? So we have created this awesome tool called Class Progress. Now, again, if your institution has not turned on Class Progress, please talk to your LMS administrator. At the class level, you're the teacher, you want to see exactly what's going on. Here we go. We'll give you this really nice dashboard, this bird's eye view of exactly what's happening. Now, at a very granular level, I can jump in and I can actually start hovering over. I can get more context and more detail as to exactly what the score was, what they're participating on. Michael Klein here, for example, is really jumping out at me as struggling. His assignment activity hasn't been all that strong, and he's actually struggled on 3 out of 4 of our learning outcomes. So I'm actually going to drill down a little bit further and see exactly what's going on with Michael. So I can jump in and I can see the 3 learning outcomes that he is struggling with here are poetry terminology, presentations, and examine. So now we can take an even more granular look and see exactly what happened. This learning outcome was attached to our poetry quiz, and I had set the threshold to achieve the learning outcome at 70%. Michael only scored a 30%. So after looking at some of this information, I can very simply hover over Michael's thumbnail here, and I can send him an email or an instant message, and we can talk about getting him back on track. Okay. Now, before I meet with Michael, maybe I want to get a little more information, right? A little more context. I can look at things like discussion views, discussion participation, assignment activity, but content is one of my favorites. You click on content and you can actually see total time spent in the content tool. And then even on an individual item basis, you can see when they've opened it, the last time they visited, and how much time they spent on that document. So when Michael comes in to tell me that he's done a fantastic job going through all of the content, I can say, actually, Michael, you haven't opened half of it. So we can have a nice educated conversation with this student and get him back on track, or try. All right, folks. So I plowed through a ton of stuff there. Sophia, I'm going to pause for questions, and I think we're going to do okay on time here.
Yes. So we do have a few questions. One is from Beth, and she said she'd like to see stats for us announcements on the class progress page. So who's viewed it, who's opened it. Is that something that could possibly be added in the future? Is it something that's possible right now and it might just not be turned on? Can you touch on that?
Yeah, so sorry, stats for what exactly?
So on the class project progress page, in that tool, Beth is saying that she cannot see stats on announcements. So who's viewed announcements, whether or not they opened them from an email, just sort of like, I don't know, similar information to what you would get for completion of an assignment or viewing of a content page.
Yeah, that is a great question. The announcements have not been added, so they're definitely not missing anything. That would be a really nice addition. I tend to use announcements, and I actually add release conditions to the announcements such that they go out to specific learners for specific reasons. So, but I think in this case, we actually wanted to go the other way. We wanted to see activity with the announcement. But it is something to consider. So because we don't have that data currently, one thing to consider would be setting up announcements that go out to students, because you can add a release condition to the announcement itself. So you can actually send intelligent agents saying, hey, you haven't watched this video. Hey, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. So in that case, you could make the announcement a content item in the content tool. And if they haven't looked at it, you can actually trigger an announcement to them saying, hey, you haven't looked at this content item like I asked. By using the content, you now have the tracking and the data.
Okay, wonderful. Beth says in the chat, add announcements. I have no ability to change the classroom. It's a clone of a master class. Yeah, so she's just thinking about the number of setup items and how she'd have to continually be checking her intelligent agents and managing that every term, especially since she's receiving a master class version. So we have a similar setup at Colorado Community Colleges Online. Actually, Beth, I don't remember if you said you were part of our system. We have lots of Beths. So yeah, I can identify with that completely, especially when you have multiple sections.
So there is one thing I will mention there is if you're constantly using a copy of a master and there's some stuff you saw today that you like, get it added to the master. It may not affect anyone, but at least they'll be there for you. For example, like intelligent agents, if you set up the intelligent agents in that course master, it actually goes over as part of the course copy. So now every single faculty member doesn't have to set up every single agent. They would just go in and link it to a specific quiz or item.
Yeah. Yeah, that's easier said than done. We have used that in our course designs on the instructional design team. And just from the other end of it, it still has maintenance implications that aren't always as easy or efficient as just ignoring them or having the feature be in the class progress. So that's just my bit of feedback. We also have a question about the release conditions. And I think the chat sort of answered it, but I want to ask it to you anyway.
Sure.
Can you conditionally release a discussion board activity, specifically based on if a student completes a certain quiz with a certain score? Can you then release a discussion board or a discussion forum?
Yep, for sure. Yep. So when you're in the content tool, you can actually go in and just go into like bulk edit, and then you can add that that parameter. So it won't open the discussion until they've completed or they've met that criteria.
Yeah, and then there were a few questions about emails coming from D2L that were chunked by course as opposed to individually or by instructor. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch a comprehensive question about that, but essentially came through from Clea Mahoney. She says, would students still get those messages in their email though, or only in the LMS as an Outlook Gmail? And I think that was when we were talking about some of the intelligent agents triggering some messages going out to the students. I'm not sure if this is a clarification that you meant, Clea, but for me, is that within the messaging system in D2L, or is that the email triggers or notifications that the students can turn on and off?
Yeah, so that's really one and the same. So just to clarify, a lot of institutions use Brightspace as like a push or a send only, and we're actually utilizing your email provider. So most institutions have an integration. If you're running two though and it hasn't been synced, then yeah, it would be internal only. But the majority of our clients, as I said, like if you're using Outlook, Brightspace will push it, but the student will receive it in their Outlook if that's where they're receiving all their email.
And then I have one last question, and mostly this is for the purposes of everyone who joined the call who's transitioning to D2L. What is the best space for them to go to find further trainings, webinars, videos, that kind of thing?
Yeah, great question. So there's a few. For example, we have a video tutorials page. If you literally just type Brightspace videos, it will bring you to the Brightspace YouTube channel, so you can easily access that. We also have a documentation page, so you can just search documentation.brightspace.com, and that will bring you to this page that you're seeing right now. And then you can just indicate your role, and that will take you to all of that documentation. And this is part of the Brightspace community. So just jumping back in there, you'll notice that we have a link to the Brightspace community as well. So the Brightspace community is a great place to start. The Brightspace community is monitored by both our community users, like our partners, but it's also, someone's checking out the tutorials, and it's also monitored by D2L staff. So you should get a really timely response on Brightspace community. Really, really cool.
Sorry about that.
No
Hopefully
problem.
that's helpful. I pasted the YouTube channel link in the chat if any of you would like to check it out. And I think at this point, Melissa will take over and do some wrap up. Thank you so much, Brad. Super helpful. And we had a ton of engagement in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you for attending, everyone. And it was a pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much, Brad. I hope that everyone felt like their minds were blown, as Brad said at the very beginning. I know that mine definitely was. So just ever so quickly, I just wanted to remind everyone to fill out the evaluation form. I'm going to put it here in the chat for you. If you can fill that out, that lets us know, how what guys thought of the presentation. And it gives us, some great feedback, both for the presenter and also for OLC about our conferences. Also, by filling it out, you get entered into a drawing for some gift cards. Again, as I said earlier, who doesn't like some prizes? So go ahead and fill that out. We would really appreciate that. Also, just so that you know, the recording of this session will be available within 24 hours on the conference website. You can click on the on-demand portion, and Brad shared a lot of information, and I'm sure you're going to want to review how he did what and where he went. So I highly recommend utilizing the on-demand video to be able to access that, and you actually can access it for up to a year. So you're not rushed on having to look at it today or tomorrow or this week. You will be able to access that for a year, and so you can utilize this as a great resource to be able to utilize D2L's platform and really take from this and apply it to your everyday. I want to give a shout out again to Sophia for being an amazing session chair. I could not have done this without you. So thank you so much. You were so great. If any of you would like to be a session chair or volunteer like Sophia did, you can fill out this link. You can go to the site and there's a link right there. We will definitely continue to need volunteers to help us at things like our Accelerate conference coming up. We are currently taking proposals through April 19th. So if that's If you want to participate as a presenter, that's definitely a way you can do it. We're going to be doing a virtual Accelerate conference in September and an in-person one in October. So there's a couple different opportunities there. And also just want to let you know that our ELOL is also taking applications. We're doing that in conjunction with ASU, and those applications are open until March 29th. Thank you again, Brad, for a great engaging presentation. We really appreciate it. And thank you everybody for being here today. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing all of you in some more sessions. Have a great rest of your day, guys.
Bye.